At the workshop on the Isle of Wight, the crew is trying to figure out what to do with the jig. The question on everybody's mind is, once it starts rotating, what will stop it?
The jig was designed just to rotate the actual main hull of the tank, but because we've joined the upper cast front section to the bottom, we've had to retain the gearbox casings in the front to locate the whole lot together. Well, the jig was never intended to have that much weight off-centre within the jig. So to actually rotate the thing inside with all that weight off-centre, that's been pretty frightening. Well, there's probably 20 tonne inside that thing. And you're winding it up like a spring, aren't you? Lifting it up against gravity, you're winding that up like a giant spring.
No, we're just being wary because we've never done it before. So once you're a bit familiar with something, you get more casual with it. It's a learning experience.
No, put them back in. I can't move it. Put it back in, John.
I was extremely nervous and that when they were putting the forklift up and that, we had to get ready and that to put the pins in and that, but if something did slip and that tank decided to roll round, it would have just shot round. And that, and if you're in the way of it, well, good luck. Simple as that, really.
The job has become more dangerous than anyone expected.
You want to, if you don't do things,
The things we got are...
As Dave and Dave worry about the jig, Bob and Ginge salvage the mechanical parts from the two Shermans, the gears from the final drives, and the 400 horsepower radial engine. The parts are stripped down to the bare metal, as good as new.
when you're physically working on a vehicle, you've got that connection to history. Basically, that's what it does. It gives you a much better insight into something. You can read something in a book, change a tank engine, and it doesn't convey anything about the amount of physical effort that goes into doing that, lifting heavy bits and pieces, taking all the connections off, etc., and how long that would take to do. But once you've done that, say on a Sherman, you've got much better insight into what a field engine change would take, how long the vehicle's going to be out of action, how many men it would take to do, the type of equipment, etc. Yes, typical good quality American engineering. Sometimes you find on the British tanks you have to do a lot more fiddling and fitting as such to get the components to fit sometimes. Whereas in theory, and we've never found it much of a problem, with an American part, you take one part off the shelf, take the part that's broken down or whatever, remove it from the tank, swap it, and they fit, which is what you really want to be able to do.
Back in the tank workshop, the crew has devised a plan to prevent the tank jig from spinning out of control. They fasten it to the heaviest thing around, which is another tank. The tank jig is locked into position, and Dave is finally ready to weld the Shermans together.
The whole of this project has been planned over the last few years. Anything we've not known ourselves, we've actually now found out just through people that have either done this sort of restoration before and also talking to welding companies to find out about the metallurgy, to find out what we can weld it together with and that sort of thing. That's actually all now been sorted out.
And now the heavy metal surgery can begin.
This is the bit I like. That's why I've actually removed everybody else from the working vicinity to give me some peace and quiet so I can get on with it. I couldn't put up with people who just keep asking me questions all day long while I'm actually trying to do it, so. Apart from you guys. Castings are about 1.25 inches thick. You've got to weld from the middle outwards, so you've got to be able to get the torch wire into the middle of the joint. So the only way you can do that is to V the plates, so you can then get the angle on the torch one way, then the other, and then backfill the plates from the middle right back up to the outside. purity. The steel is so pure that the MIG wire, if you set the machines to their normal sort of welding parameters for the thickness of metal, the wire is actually just cutting through the steel because it's so pure. You actually see that happen when you're welding. The wire will actually just slice through it, just like a knife through butter.
The safety on the jig has worked.
It's all working really well. It does make a lot of difference to actually welding it. The jig it's the way to do it. There's no doubt.
The welding is complete.
The welding process used 30 kilograms of wire, which actually equates out to be 8 kilometers of welding wire.
It's a massive turning point for the crew at the Isle of Wight. Their 2 Shermans are now one.
Yeah, it feels really good at this point to actually see the 2 bits come together. I'm looking forward to actually doing the decorating at the end, the grinding, and just sort of fudging them together nicely. Bit of decoration, make sure they look nice. That's the bit I'm looking forward to.
The final drive is taken out to be refitted. The suspension is repainted and ready to install. The heavy assembly phase is complete, and the mechanical components are ready for reassembly.
Amongst the old soldiers that come into the museum, there is a definite fondness for the Sherman. I think the fondness for them only arrives out of the fact that they were issued with them in numbers, so therefore they can relate to them. I think that's the thing.
And occasionally you sort of meet German tankers, we have done over the years, and they all sort of refer to the stupidity of it at the end of the day. But I'm afraid war seems to be permanently with us in one form or another. We sort of sound sort of highfalutin, but see, part of our role is to just remind people that these things happened, and it's not just a movie that you watch at the weekend or in the cinema. It's very different to that.
When this Sherman is complete, it will take center stage in the collection to help a new generation understand the machines and the perils of war.
Really achievement. I'm looking forward to actually getting it done and then getting all the grinding and the fancy bits done, and be able to sort of stand back and look at it and think, yeah, have we got away with it? That's the bit I want to see.
Born in America, they liberated Europe, only to be destroyed on firing ranges and abandoned in scrapyards. Now one Sherman, remade from 2 survivors, begins a new life.